quite an interesting week because our fundraising event, which quite frankly, we've never done it to this scale, and we've never done it really as a unified option between Mesda and Old Salem. So this has been great. And I just want to tell everyone that Daniel and I did our own telethon this afternoon, which brought in a good bit of money on Facebook with Facebook Lives. So anyway,
I think people wanted to get us out of their Facebook feed, and so they were just shoveling money at us. But it was for a good cause. It was for a really good cause.
Absolutely true. So this evening we're here for a couple of reasons. The most important reason this evening is that we have three really well-deserving honorees, which we will talk about as we go into the evening. We also have tied this to our historic summer fundraising event. And in that, we put a goal of $100,000 in contributions, and our board and Mesda advisors, staff leadership, and executive leadership team have contributed to produce a $50,000 match.
Yep.
And so, Daniel, you've been involved with the additional public monies that have been coming in as well. Talk about what we've been doing with that.
Absolutely, Frank. So in addition to our little telethon this afternoon with Facebook Live, we have been hosting all sorts of events all week, from videos about all the different initiatives that we're working on here at Old Salem, to really incorporating the historic summer into our two online crowdcast series, the Mesda Summer Scholars Series, which concluded last night,
yep,
and the Salem Presents series, which actually will conclude next week with Dr. Tony Parent from Wake Forest University.
And we want to highlight the fact that we've been putting up videos all week about the new programs, the new initiatives, the experimentation that we've been doing, primarily because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But there's just a lot of strategic planning that's really was started, Daniel, back last fall. And it really kind of came to fruition through the last 4 months. So please, after this event, go on to our social media, and we've got a handful of really informative videos that'll give you a sense of what Old Salem and the Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts has been doing. That leads me to some things that we want to do. And we want to really thank some people right up front.
Absolutely.
And so the first thing that Daniel and I would like to do is thank the Board of Trustees and the Mesda advisors. As I mentioned earlier, they've produced substantial gifts to produce the $50,000 match upon which all of the public donations are resting. And so, Daniel, you and I have been pretty busy thanking all of our stakeholders, our Board of Trustees and the Mesda advisors.
Absolutely. And it's been so much fun to do it. I mean, these are people who really believe in the missions of Old Salem and Mesda. They are friends, they are colleagues. And so having the opportunity to reach out to them, thank them, talk to them about what we're doing and why we're doing it has been incredibly rewarding. I don't know about you, Frank, but I mean, I really look forward to talking to our boards. And I'm not sure that leaders in nonprofits always feel that way, but
certainly not right now, probably.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's such a positive energy around all of the work we're doing here at Old Salem and Mesda. And so it's been fun to call and thank and talk to these folks who live all over the country, right? I mean, both the Old Salem trustees and the Mesda advisory board, they are spread across the entire United States.
Yeah, and I've also been contacting our national advisors, and they reside in, I think, around 19 different states in the United States. So Old Salem is really, we're gaining a really considerable national reach, which I'm just really pleased of. And so Daniel and I really want to thank all of those stakeholders. And I also want to especially thank the leadership team and the executive leadership team. They've all donated to this campaign. And not only are they working very hard and doing things that we never expected to be able to do, they've really added to the financial level of where we are.
They've been a big part of making this a historic summer.
And speaking of the staff, Daniel and I really want to especially thank Catherine Carlisle, Director of Community Engagement and Development for MESDA Programming, and then Michelle Cook, who's Old Salem Senior Director of Development. They both created and really have facilitated the Historic Summer fundraising campaign. And as all of you can imagine, a great deal of planning and logistics have gone into this. And Daniel, Catherine is actually running the technology for this gala tonight.
She is. So she is the technological whiz behind the scenes tonight. And I fear if we say too much, she's just going to shut us off.
I know. Well, thank you, Catherine and Michelle. All of this could not have happened without you.
Absolutely.
Daniel and I would also like to thank Samantha Smith, who's a Director of Community Engagement and Digital Learning. And Daniel, you worked with her a lot on other videos, but she's put together the videos from this week as well.
She has. And, you know, when you see a 1, 2, 5, 10-minute video, what you don't realize is the amount of work that really goes into the post-production to actually tell a great story. And she's done an incredible job this week. Bringing people together at a safe social distance.
Yeah, exactly.
with 6 feet plus microphone cords, but bringing people together to talk about what we're doing, and then taking those conversations and really packaging them in ways that tell the story of what we're doing, which is really important.
And this
she's done an incredible job.
And this hasn't been that easy to tell the story in a digital way, because the work that we're doing is so complex at this point. And we've moved in areas that are really being defined as we do them. I mean, the Exploratorium series, which is easily being seen, I think Karen told me, in 30 different states. Teachers and parents have been using them at home. And so just the kind of curriculum-based information that's requiring is a lot to convey over maybe a 5 or 10-minute video. So we really want to thank Samantha. And then, yeah. And then particularly for tonight, this is our brand new Frederic William Marshall Service Award, which was completely designed and crafted by one of our craftsmen, Blake Stevenson. He's one of our education coordinators. And I hope you can see the beauty of this. And our award winners will be wearing them when we do finally pull them up. And Daniel, you and I were talking about the symbolism that we built into this.
Absolutely. I mean, we started with this idea. We wanted an award that really represented the entirety of MESDA and Old Salem. And so we thought about what were the two most iconic things. And it's really, it's the coffee pot at the end of Main Street that really anchors the entry to the historic district at the North End. And it's the Alexander Petrie Salver, which for decades has been MESDA's logo. And I'll add, one of the most iconic pieces of Southern silver really in any collection. And so Blake did an incredible job fusing these two symbols together into these medals that we're awarding tonight.
Yeah, I'm really honored that we have Blake to help us with this, and I love the symbolism. COVID-19 has really produced a new era for us of collaboration between MESDA and Old Salem. And one of our award winners tonight, Robert Leath. Robert was actually here at the beginning of all of this. So we have a lot to thank Robert for in terms of that. And Daniel, acting as interim chief curator, has really continued down that and expanded. So I have thank yous to both of you for getting us to the point of really moving in a strong direction for Old Salem and MESDA. So thank you, Daniel.
Well, thank you, Frank.
So now what we would like to do is we'd like to pull up Ben Masterson, who is one of our education coordinators, and he is also one of our interpreters. There's Ben for us. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Ben.
Having me.
Ben, you are in the Bloom House, which is our joiner right now. And you've got a banjo. I want to hear the story of this banjo because it has a lot to say about Old Salem.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually in the joinery, and the joinery really is probably one of my favorite places in the world. And one of the best things about having worked for Old Salem for a little over 5 years now is that I've been able to combine all these passions of mine and then share them with all the people that come through. So I'm so passionate about music and, of course, history, but also woodworking. And so what I did is I made a banjo right here in the shop. And the banjo that I made incorporated a big bushel gourd, or a storage gourd, I should say, that was grown right here in the gardens back behind us. And so the banjo, I play a lot of old-time music, and the roots of string band music, a lot of it comes directly from West Africa. So the banjo is inherently a West African instrument. And so not only was it transported in the minds of enslaved people and brought into the Caribbean and to colonial America, but the banjo and other musical instruments were physically transported on slave ships as well. So we have all kinds of accounts of the banjo coming into the Southeast. So this is my interpretation of a gourd banjo, and I'm going to play a little ditty on it for you. And the style that I play is called clawhammer. And really, I feel like that galloping rhythm of the clawhammer banjo is at the heart of American music. It gives it that danceability. And that's, like I say, a direct line straight to West Africa. So
all right, Ben. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Okay.
I'm gonna toggle off, and we're gonna give you full screen, and everyone sit back and enjoy Ben's music. And I will see you after this. Thank you.
So here's an old tune called "Sandy Boys," and you could have heard this on a gourd banjo in the 19th century for sure. There you go.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben.
Welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
We're going to ask Ben to come back and play another really interesting musical instrument that has strong connections to us. I'd like to move directly into talking about a good friend of both of ours. And so, Daniel, if it's okay, I'd like to give Robert his award.
I think that sounds like a great idea, Frank.
And so, you know, I really consider Robert a good friend of mine. I've really gotten to know him in the last 4 years since I've come down from New York City to Old Salem. And for some of you, you may not know Robert because we have a lot of people on here who have contributed who have no real strong connection to our organization, although we hope that that will continue with your contributions. But Robert was chief curator and vice president of Old Salem. He oversaw the collections, library, and research initiatives of the Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts, plus the collections at the historic sites of Old Salem, so a really substantial job. Prior to coming to Old Salem, he was curator of historic interiors at Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, and in that position, he created and implemented the furnishing plans for 14 historic sites, and believe me, that is not a small thing. From 1999 to 2000, he was curator of collections and restoration of historic Kenmore Plantation, and assistant curator for Historic Charleston Foundation from 1991 to 99. He coordinated the restoration and refurnishing of the Nathaniel Russell House. During his tenure here at Old Salem and Mesda, Robert led really incredibly important strategic realignments that included a complete renovation and reinterpretation of the museum's galleries, the launch of its first website with online research databases, an academic partnership with the University of Virginia for the annual Mesda Summer Institute, and transitioning the scholarly publication of the Mesda Journal into a digital publication with open access for readers and scholars nationwide. And in fact, this is really an important thing. So this was something that he started to do before other organizations really did that. Robert also received the F.L. Horton Award for Lifetime Achievement in Early Southern Decorative Arts during the celebration of Mesda's 50th anniversary. And so there's so much more I could say about Robert. When I first came to Old Salem, Robert was one of the most collaborative team members who understood the need for transformation, and he became a primary leader in our program reassessment and analysis, and he was one of the integral executive leadership team that I relied on to review and gain guidance from. And so at this moment, I would really like to call Robert forward to share some thoughts. And I would like to really thank Robert for all of his effort prior to when I arrived and since that time. So thank you, Robert. Congratulations.
Frank, thank you. Those comments are incredibly generous, and to listen to them come from you while all the pictures were streaming on the screen was a real walk down memory lane. And I'm very grateful to Blake for crafting this beautiful medal that I now get to wear. I said to somebody earlier, I think Christoph Nostitz might be the only other person in Winston-Salem with something similar to this. So it's an honor for me to have it. I'm especially honored by the fact that we can be here tonight in the midst of the national situation we face using modern technology. Because the main thing I remember was that my very first meeting with the staff in 2005, the main point I made was that I thought technology was going to be our future, and that we really had to focus on our website, on taking the journal digital and online, on getting all of our research databases online. And I think as much as I knew that was the right path 15 years ago, I couldn't have really predicted just how important it would be at this moment when every museum is working very hard to craft its online presence. And Old Salem and Mesda really had a jump on that. And it makes things like tonight's gathering much easier. So I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful for your leadership. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to be back in this format with Johanna and Daniel and June and all the wonderful staff at Mesda and Old Salem. I'm grateful to Catherine and Michelle for their leadership in creating this event. And it's an honor to be with you all tonight. Thank you.
And thank you, Robert, for those comments. And I don't know if everyone knows why you left us and where you are now. Just briefly give someone an idea of what your position is.
Well, it was a very hard decision, but it's interestingly one of the photographs in the roll that you put together was taken at Baker House in New York City, and it's me sitting with Dick Jenrette, who is the founder of Classical American Homes Preservation Trust. And so Dick died 2 years ago. And so a bit like coming into Mesda 2 years after Frank Horton's passing, the role I agreed to take was coming into Classical American Homes 2 years after Dick left us to sort of get that organization on a forward moving path and create a vision for its historic sites. And once again, I think technology and research will play a very critical role. So I'm taking everything I learned at Mesda and Old Salem and applied in practice during those 15 years to Classical American Homes.
Well, thank you, Robert. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. We miss you, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck. Thank you. Daniel, I think you have another award that you luckily get to give out. Or I could sing, but I'm not sure that anybody wants to hear that.
Frank, just a minute. We are getting Daniel back on the screen.
Yeah, no problem. I will say this, that I just got updated. We have been continuing to take donations, and if any of you can see this green tab right there, we would love for you to contribute to our Historic Summer campaign. At the end of this event will be the end of our campaign, and we would love to get to the goal of 100,000. So while you're watching and listening to Ben, and in honor of our honorees, we would love for you to continue donating. Daniel, I welcome you back to the screen, and now it's your turn to share a medal.
It's live TV, which is always an adventure, but Robert's absolutely right. Technology is our future, and we've completely embraced it here at Old Salem and Mesda. So this evening, I have the distinct pleasure of awarding the Frederic William Marshall Award to two people who could not be more deserving. Tom and Sarah Sears, who many of you all know, are quite possibly the most perfectly matched couple I've ever met. I first met Tom and Sarah in 2007 when I was a student in the Mesda Summer Institute, and Tom and Sarah joined us, as they did for more than a decade. And in a way, Tom and Sarah really became mentors and inspirations for an entire generation of Mesda Summer Institute scholars. But that's just one part of their lives. Tom and Sarah have had a huge impact on the study and appreciation of not just American decorative arts, but the decorative arts of Salem and the decorative arts of the South. And Tom has, through his own work as a craftsman, really taught me, and so many people as well, the importance of understanding objects by making them. That you really get into a craftsman's mind when you try to cut a set of perfectly made double through tenons at a precise 12.5-degree angle. But Sarah is no less accomplished. She has worked tirelessly to promote preservation, the decorative arts, gardening in Greensboro and throughout the entire South as well. And I'll just add that, in addition to being so perfectly matched, Tom and Sarah also have the distinct honor and privilege of having been sweethearts from elementary school on. And if you've ever followed the StoryCorps program, I encourage you to search for their StoryCorps interview, in which they describe the time they first met back in second grade. So it is my distinct pleasure and honor to honor these two individuals who've done so much for Mesda, for Old Salem, for Greensboro, and for preservation generally across the entire United States, Tom and Sarah Sears.
Thank you, Daniel. We are very honored to be here and to be recognized. I will read a short thing that we've written here together. Sarah and I are especially honored to receive the William Marshall Award tonight. Our Old Salem Museums and Gardens experiences began when Dr. Lawrence Oswald suggested we join he and Helen to attend a seminar at MESDA in 1973. This seminar was led by Frank Horton and Carolyn Weekly and was the initial presentation on the Swicegood School of Cabinet Makers. When we decided we needed an appropriate house for our developing collection, we found a white pine monograph on Old Salem in an antique shop in Southbury, Connecticut, believe it or not, in 1976. The John Vogler house talked to us, and we decided to combine the exterior of the 1819 Vogler house with an incredible fancy painted interior from the vacant 1815 General Francis K. Simpson house in northeast Guilford County. We also copied the Salem Market Firehouse for our garage. Over time, trips to Old Salem and MESDA became a primary source of rest and relaxation and energy. Attending programs at both MESDA and Old Salem became a favorite way to relax and learn. Auditing 10 summer institutes after I retired took us back to school and became our vacations. Sarah and I attended our first meeting on the MESDA Advisory Board on the day of Frank Horton's memorial service in 2004 and before Robert King. We enjoyed our years on the advisory board, and I served as chairman for 2 years. In the interim, we were asked to purchase the T. Baggy house, like we needed another house, and I now affectionately call this my playhouse. Serving the past 9 years on the trustee board and chairman of building and grounds for the past 8+ years has been both satisfying and challenging. Sarah and I find the streets and structures of Old Salem to be a wonderful place for meditation and rejuvenation. We have enjoyed sharing Old Salem Museums and Gardens with our families and museum and woodworking friends. We are honored to receive the Frederic William Marshall Award. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom and Sarah, so much for all that you've done for MESDA, for Old Salem, and for our entire community. I cannot wait until we're on the other end of this pandemic, Tom, and you and I can make some sawdust and wood shavings again. That'll be wonderful.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Daniel.
So now I'd like to bring up Ben Masterson again, who's live in the Bloom Joinery here at Old Salem and MESDA to play another instrument that he crafted actually in that shop. And Ben will be joining us on screen in just a moment. But he'll be playing an instrument called the Scheitholt, which is a German instrument that he actually reproduced based on an example in our collection here at Old Salem. And I think it's always interesting as a curator when an artifact survives like that, and a craftsman with Ben's talent, both in woodworking and in music, can really bring it back to life and give it voice. And so we're just connecting now with Ben at the Bloom Joinery. Ben, can you hear me?
I sure can, Daniel. Hello.
Perfect. We can't see you, but I think what's most important is that we can hear you. Can you tell me a little bit about the instrument you're going to play?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Yeah, the German Scheitholt, was probably brought directly into the Wachovia from Germany, but it also drifted down through the Shenandoah Valley and into the Appalachians. And it really is the forerunner of the American dulcimer, the mountain dulcimer or the Appalachian dulcimer. And so it's in the zither family, which is this ancient family of instruments. And it's laid out in a very diatonic scale where the fretless banjo, you can play all these kind of microtones. This one is actually, you just play it up and down in a do, re, mi scale. So having it here in the shop has been such a wonderful tool. Like you talk about, the music really brings history to life. And so we let people play it, and it's so easy to play that kids could just pick up a little ditty on it very simply. And I'm kind of a novice at playing it, but I'm very proud of having built it. And I'm so thankful for the collaboration we do have and the collection that we have. And thank you to Johanna Brown for always being so gracious and generous and helping me get a hold of these artifacts to be able to reproduce as well. So I can play you guys a little bit if you'd like.
That sounds absolutely wonderful, Ben.
Okay, sounds good. So here's a little bit of an example on this guy.
Ben, that was absolutely beautiful. And what a different sound from the banjo you played earlier.
Yeah, it certainly is. It really is. And I also wanted to quickly say congratulations to Robert and Tom and Sarah. They've been such wonderful mentors to me here, both as far as studying material culture with Robert and, of course, woodworking with Tom. And Sarah's such a lovely person. So congratulations to you folks.
Absolutely. Tom is one of those trustees who is not afraid to get his hands dirty and work physically on the site as well. And so, you know, I think as a curator, I appreciate his deep knowledge of working with his hands, but I can only imagine, Ben, you as a craftsman, getting to work alongside him and sort of learn from his own experience has been really wonderful.
It truly has. It truly has.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for being with us tonight and giving us a little taste of these two very different, very important instruments and sharing them with us from the Bloom Joinery. I cannot wait until we're on the other side of this pandemic and we can actually visit face-to-face in that space together again.
I agree wholeheartedly, Daniel, and thank you again so much for allowing me to play some music for you guys tonight. Have a wonderful night, folks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, Frank.
Whenever we have a party at the fourth house for Old Salem and Mazda, we love to invite Ben and his wife and partner, Hillary, to play. Just amazing stuff. I would like to say that we continue to get contributions, green tab. And if we had balloons that would drop from the ceiling, I think Daniel and I would be jumping up and down because we have just exceeded our $100,000 goal. Yeah, it just, it's no joke.
That is absolutely amazing, Frank.
It just happened. I just want to thank everyone from the staff to the board of trustees to the Mazda advisors and to all of the public contributions that have come in this past week. And today, following our telethon that Daniel and I did on Facebook Live.
And others. Yeah,
that's
Karen,
true.
Samantha,
that's true.
Lots of other people joined in.
It's really meaningful, especially right now that there is acknowledgement from people outside of the organization that everyone is working really hard to keep this kind of engagement and this level of engagement. And Daniel, I'd like to make this a public thank you to you as well. You've been really instrumental in helping Old Salem and Mazda move in this direction. So I'm proud to be up here on stage with you presenting these awards.
Well, thank you so much, Frank. I'm just honored to be up on stage with you and with our honorees tonight, Robert, Tom, and Sarah. I mean, they are all people who really inspire me every single day. And so thank you for inviting me to be part of this.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. We are very pleased to be giving these awards out tonight. Even though we can't be with you, please imagine us giving you a great hug and a welcome and a thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you all so much. Good night.